A study on the book of Revelation, chapter 13. Chapter 13 introduces two evil men known as beasts. The first will come from the sea, possibly the Mediterranean Sea, and the second will come from the land, possibly Israel. The first will position himself up as a god, the Antichrist. The second will be a spiritual and political leader in Israel for the Antichrist, the false prophet. Those refusing to worship the Antichrist will be killed. They will also force everyone to receive the name or the number 666 of the Antichrist on their head or their right hand. Those without the mark will face financial hardship because they will not be able to buy anything. Revelation 13:1 Beast from the Sea. The sea is often symbolized as chaos and rebellion. Bible geography identifies the sea being the Mediterranean Sea. The beast will come from a region in the Mediterranean. The beast, later compared to a leopard, bear, and lion, can symbolize strength and dominance. It is a predator. He will have immense power and authority. The beast has 10 horns with 7 heads with crowns. The 10 horns are 10 kings, later revealed in Revelation 17, verse 12, and were identified as 10 kings back in Daniel 7, verse 24. The 7 heads could represent the 7 hills of Rome. As a reminder, 7 symbolizes completion and perfection. Many believe that the Antichrist will come as part of the revived Roman Empire. This beast, or Antichrist, has many names. Little Horn, the king of fierce countenance, the willful king, the one who comes in his own name, the wicked one, the son of perdition, the man of sin, and the lawless one. The Antichrist has the following characteristics. He is an intellectual genius, an oratorical genius, a political genius, a commercial genius, a military genius, and he is also a religious genius. There are debates on whether he will be Jewish or Gentile. Many believe he will be Gentile. He will imitate the person and the work of Jesus. He will come in Satan's name, where Jesus came in God's. He represents the second person in the unholy Trinity. Jesus was second in the Holy Trinity. He will come up from the abyss. Jesus came down from heaven. He will be a savage beast. Jesus was a sacrificial lamb. He will receive his power from Satan. Jesus received his from the Father. He will have a fake resurrection. Jesus had a real one. He will be worshipped by unbelievers. Jesus is worshipped by believers. He will deliver mighty speeches, just as Jesus did. His ministry will last 3.5 years, about the same time Jesus had his ministry. His symbolic number is 6. Jesus' symbolic number is 7. He will kill his prostitute wife, but Jesus will glorify his bride. The beast here in verse 1 also sounds like the 4th beast from Daniel chapter 7, which symbolized the Roman Empire. Each of the 7 heads advertised blasphemy against God, speaking of the beast's message and his character. This is also mentioned in Daniel 7, verse 25. Revelation 13, verse 2. The monstrous beast. The leopard, the bear, and the lion. This has a clear connection to Daniel 7, verses 3 through 7, that depicts 4 beasts rising from the sea, meaning they came from this area around the Mediterranean. The first beast was a lion, which represented the Babylonian Empire. Next was a bear, that represented the Medo-Persian Empire. Third was a leopard, which represented the Greek Empire. And the last beast represented the Roman Empire. The revived Roman Empire may have attributes of all three, such as the authority and ferociousness like a lion, the strength and crushing power like a bear, and the speed and vigilance like a leopard. The dragon, also known as Satan, gives the beast, also known as the Antichrist, the same offer he gave Jesus in Matthew 4, verses 8 through 10. But the Antichrist accepts the offer where Jesus had rejected it. In John 13, verse 27, Satan himself possessed Judas. So it is a possibility that he will directly possess the Antichrist. Revelation 13:3, Deadly Wound Healed. There is a couple of theories on what this means. The first theory is that the wound symbolizes the Roman Empire's downfall, but it comes back as the revived Roman Empire. The other theory is that the Antichrist will receive a mortal wound and will be believed to be raised from the dead. The Antichrist may deceive the world and imitate Jesus' death and resurrection, and if this happens, many in the world will believe it and worship him. There are some others who also believe that the Antichrist is a resurrected individual, maybe Judas Iscariot. Revelation 13:4, Worshipping the Dragon. The world will worship Satan and the Antichrist. It is a possibility that devil worship may be prevalent at this time. The Antichrist will proclaim himself as God, placing himself above all and demanding to be worshipped. There are some ideas on what this kind of worship could look like. Satanism before 1960 was rare. Each year it is getting more and more popular. There is a Church of Satan started in 1966 by Anton LaVey, who was also authored the Satanic Bible in 1969. LaVey pioneered atheistic Satanism. These Satanists are primarily atheists who use the devil as their mascot for trolling and countering Christians to show their rejection of God. There are also theistic Satanists that worship the devil as a deity, believing Satan to be good and God to be evil. Both the atheistic and theistic branches of Satanism practice unholy rituals and magic. It is possible that the world religion will look something like this. Revelation 13:5, Limited Authority. The closest example we have in the Bible of a leader overflowing with pride is the Babylonian king Nebuchadnezzar. Nebuchadnezzar had a great statue made for people to worship it. He boasted about his kingdom and himself. In Daniel 7, verse 25, it talks about the fourth beast, and it says, "He will speak words against the Most High, and oppress the holy ones of the Most High. He will intend to change religious festivals and laws, and the holy ones will be handed over to him for a time, times, and a half time." Daniel 7, verse 25. Reminder: a time, times, and half a time equals 1,260 days, or 42 months, or 3.5 years. Some Roman emperors blasphemed God, but it is believed that none of them fulfilled this prophecy. They believe the leader of the revived Roman Empire, the Antichrist, will fulfill this prophecy. He will blaspheme God for 42 months. His power and authority are limited to 42 months. Revelation 13:6. Arrogant blasphemy. The Antichrist blasphemes God and the raptured church. Blasphemy is an act of insulting God. The Antichrist is arrogantly disrespecting God and his authority. In Leviticus 24, verse 16, God says there is a death sentence to anyone who blasphemes God. In Revelation 19, verse 20, the Antichrist will receive that judgment, and he will face eternal punishment in the lake of fire. Revelation 13:7. Global power to make war. The Antichrist will have authority over the whole earth. He will persecute and hunt down believers, but he will be unable to fully eradicate them. Revelation 13:8. The Book of Life excluded. The world will universally worship the Antichrist, except for those whose names are in the Lamb's Book of Life. The Lamb's Book of Life will be opened during the Great White Throne Judgment, the judgment that separates believers and unbelievers. The unbelievers will be cast in the lake of fire. Paul wrote in Ephesians 1, verse 4, that God chose us before the foundation of the world, like what is here in Revelation 13, verse 8. Predestination has been a debated topic in Christian denominations. The two views are Calvinism, where God is in control, and Arminianism, where human choice matters. In depravity, Calvinism, humans are completely sinful and spiritually dead. They are unable to choose God on their own. In Arminianism, humans are fallen and sinful, but retain some ability to choose good or evil. Grace helps them choose God. Election. In Calvinism, God predestines some for salvation. In Arminianism, God desires all to be saved, and the elect are those who choose him. Atonement. In Calvinism, Christ's sacrifice was only for the elect, not for all humanity. In Arminianism, atonement is for all humanity, but effective only for believers. God's grace. In Calvinism, God's saving grace cannot be resisted. Those chosen will be saved. In Arminianism, saving grace can be resisted, but God helps those choose it. Perseverance of the saints. In Calvinism, salvation cannot be lost. In Arminianism, salvation can be lost. So the Calvinistic view, where God chooses who is saved, has support from verses like Romans 8, verses 28 through 30, Ephesians 1, verses 4 through 5 and 11, and John 6, verse 37. The Arminian view, where we choose to be saved, is supported in Deuteronomy 30, verse 19, 1 Corinthians 9, verse 27, and 2 Timothy 2, verses 10 through 12. There are 5-point Calvinists and 5-point Arminians, but most Christians fall somewhere in the middle of these two views. John Piper said, Calvinists believe that God has produced in us the decisive desire for Christ. Arminians believe we must produce in ourselves the decisive desire for Christ. Revelation 13:9. Call to listen. The invitation is like the one given to the 7 churches in Revelation chapters 2 through 3. This invitation is addressed to all Christians, and God speaks to those who accept his invitation. Some Christians may be tempted to join up with the evil world system that is in place. But Paul warns in Romans 12, verse 2, do not be conformed to this age, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, so that you may discern what is good, pleasing, and perfect will of God. Revelation 13:10. Retribution and faith. Obedience to the Antichrist will bring consequences. There will be divine retribution. Those who persecute others will be persecuted. God's people are called to endure and be faithful. James 1 verse 12 says, "Blessed is the one who endures trials, because when he has stood the test, he will receive the crown of life that God has promised to those who love him." Revelation 13:11. False prophet on the scene. This beast rises from the earth, possibly Israel, which differs from the first beast who rose out of the sea. Where the first beast is most likely Gentile, the second beast is most likely Jewish. The second beast is subordinate to the first beast. The second beast has two horns, like a lamb, symbolizing that it is milder but more lamb-like than the first. He will seem harmless, but will promote the agenda of the first beast and the dragon. The horns could symbolize religious and political authority. The dragon, the Antichrist, and the false prophet make up the unholy trinity. Where the Antichrist tries to counter Jesus, the false prophet of Satan tries to counter the Holy Spirit. He will lead others into error. The Holy Spirit leads them to truth. He will glorify the Antichrist. The Holy Spirit glorifies Christ. He will call fire to come down. The Holy Spirit made fire come down from heaven at Pentecost. He will take life. The Holy Spirit gives life. He will mark those who worship Satan. The Holy Spirit marks those who belong to him with a seal. Revelation 13:12. The power of the false prophet. The false prophet calls for the world to worship the Antichrist. This verse is the basis for believing that there will be a one-world religion. This religion could be some form of theistic or atheistic Satanism. Revelation 13:13. False miracles. The false prophet will put on a show that he is Israel's Messiah, and he will perform great signs. Like how Elijah called down fire from heaven in Kings 18, verses 36 through 39. The false prophet will duplicate this. Much like how the Egyptian magicians always tried to match the plagues in the book of Exodus, the false prophet will do the same here. He will deceive many with his works. In 2 Thessalonians 2, verse 9, Paul said the Antichrist will come with all power, signs, and lying wonders. Revelation 13:14. The image of the Antichrist. The false prophet commands that an image, statue, or likeness be built for the Antichrist for the world to worship. This connects with Nebuchadnezzar in Daniel 3, verses 1 through 7, who had a great statue made for the people to worship it. Revelation 13:15. Power of the image. The false prophet gives breath, spirit, or life to the image of the Antichrist. With today's technology, this could be a robot with AI. Others believe it could be a supernatural power granted by the devil. Those who refuse to worship this image that speaks will be killed. Revelation 13:16. The mark of the beast. God will seal those who are his. Likewise, the false prophet will place the mark of the beast on the right hand or head of their recipients. Another evil imitation of God. They will brand people like ranchers branding cattle to denote ownership. Revelation 13:17. Purchases limited. There is already technology today that can be used to make purchases from a chip in their hand called the RFID chip. Chips are also used to control access to certain places as well. As technology grows, it is not hard to believe purchases can be controlled. Revelation 13:18. Number of the beast. There have been multiple conclusions for the meaning of 666, but no one knows exactly the meaning of it until that time comes. 6 is one short of 7, the biblical number for completion and perfection, and 6 symbolizes imperfection. 7 symbolizes God, and 6 symbolizes man. The seraphim called to God, "Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts," in Isaiah 6, verse 3. Repeating it 3 times emphasizes its nature. 666, or unholy, 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 would be the perfect picture of the imperfect man.